We are made of atoms. The sun that warms the earth itself, the trees, the gas we breathe, and the ground under your feet. Even the screen you're watching this on are all made of atoms. Atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Protons and neutrons are subatomic particles that are found together in the nucleus. And spinning around this nucleus are these things called electrons. Anything that you could imagine that has mass is made of either protons, neutrons, and electrons. It should be stated that apparently a lot of the mass in the universe is made of this thing called dark matter, but scientists don't really understand what this is. For the purpose of this video, when I refer to all of the mass of the universe, I'm just referring to the mass of the universe that we actually understand, which is things that are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. As I said, protons and neutrons are these particle-like substances that live together in the nucleus. And spinning around them is these things called electrons. And when scientists were trying to figure out what electrons actually are, they found that depending on how they observed them, they either acted as a particle or as a wave. And this resulted in scientists coming up with this idea or this theory called wave-particle duality. Then, as science continued to progress, it was discovered that protons and neutrons weren't actually the smallest fundamental components, but they could be split into their own specific constituents, called quarks and gluons. Now, quarks and gluons are both a result of interacting fields, or the interaction of their specific fields. So there's the quark fields and the gluons fields that interact with each other and with themselves, and that gives rise to these things called quarks and gluons. A quark can be thought of as a particle-like substance, and they are in constant motion. And as they move further apart from each other, a force pulls them back. And this force that pulls them back is called the gluon. The gluon force increases as the quarks move further away from each other. And the way to think about this is if you had multiple randomly moving marbles all attached to the same rubber band. As the marbles or the quarks move further apart, the rubber band or the gluon pulls them back together. And as they move further apart, the stronger the force or the gluon that pulls the marble or the quarks back together. One thing that I found while doing research for this that's really interesting is this thing called the Higgs field. The Higgs field is a field that spreads across the entire universe, and anything that has mass in the universe, just like quarks, are a result of the interaction with the Higgs field. And the way to think about this is that the Higgs field is like water and the universe is the pool. Something that is really small and moving slowly can pass easily through the Higgs field and doesn't really interact with it. Just like something that's really small and moving slowly will pass nice and easily through water. And the water doesn't push against the really small object. But if you take something really large that's trying to move really fast, going through water, just like if you try to run through water, the water pushes back on you. Higgs field is like the water, and something large is like a planet. A large planet that's moving fast interacts with the Higgs field a lot, and the Higgs field pushes against it, and this interaction is what gives rise to anything with mass in the universe. The interaction and resistance with the Higgs field is what gives rise to mass of the universe. And so the particle-like substance, or the quark, that interaction with the Higgs field accounts for approximately only 1% of the mass of the universe. And the other 99% is due to the force or the energy contained in those gluons that hold the quarks together. This is difficult for us to understand how energy itself can have a mass, because we don't see this in our world. Energy is normally seen as a massless concept rather than having a physical quantity. And the way that I see how energy could result in 99% of the mass of the protons and neutrons, and 99% of the mass of us, trees, planets, atmospheres, suns, stardust, asteroids, is through the atomic bomb. How an atomic bomb works is by splitting the atom, specifically splitting the nucleus, where the protons and neutrons are found. When a clump of protons and neutrons are split into two clumps of protons and neutrons, the amount of energy stored in this bond results in the atomic bomb. The strength between protons and neutrons, or between two clumps of protons and neutrons, can be thought of as two magnets being attracted together. There's two magnets that you hold in your hand. And when you pull these magnets apart, the amount of energy required to pull them apart results in an atomic explosion. Now, the amount of energy contained in the gluon would be the amount of energy required to snap a magnet itself. This is difficult to comprehend, but essentially what I'm saying is that the energy contained in this force of the gluons is thousands of times the amount of energy released when an atomic bomb explodes. And this begins to paint a picture of how energy can result in so much mass of the universe. Overall, quarks and gluons are the smallest fundamental parts of our universe that we're able to comprehend. They are the interactions or excitations of their respective fields. And the excitation of fields present as wave functions, just like light is a wave that is the excitation of the magnetic and electric fields. Therefore, not dissimilar to the electron, but protons and neutrons, and therefore all perceivable entities in the universe with mass, are made of waves and particles. A particle is easy to comprehend. It's basically just a ball. But what is a wave? A wave is the transfer of energy from one point to another without the net transfer of matter. It is the energy of movement through a medium, whether that is the movement of energy through water or photons through space. In the last video, I recounted stories that carried similar themes and asked questions of self-expression and the potential scientific philosophical idea of humans being the universe trying to understand itself. What I found was that the stories and the summaries of stories and understanding of ourselves all contain cyclical themes and imagery. So why do we tell cyclical stories and use circle imagery to understand the universe around and within us? The ability to identify circles in nature and use them to aid humans' navigation around the world traces back thousands of years, and it makes sense as well with the invention of the wheel. From an evolutionary standpoint, the ability to apply circles to human lives makes sense. Those individuals who use circular rocks to help them move things from one place to another would have had a massive advantage. They would have been able to expend less energy on movement, travel with more equipment or food, and ultimately be more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on their knowledge. The mathematical application of circles is as old as civilization itself. The Babylons of the first civilization, Mesopotamia, had a number for pi, which was 3.125. The true first three decimal places being 3.141. Let me say that again. Over 4,000 years ago, humans had a number for pi being 3.125, and we currently believe it's 3.141. It's less than 0.2 off. 0.02 off, sorry. So at the same time that humans realized it was better to stay in one place and manipulate the world around us, we've had a number for pi. If you look it up, you'll find that Archimedes is attributed to having found the real number for pi. And Archimedes was around in 250 BCE. To put this into perspective, there's 7 cradles of civilization. These are the first places around the world where people created the civilizations that have expanded and since conquered the entire world. The Olmecs of Mexico are one of these 7 cradles of civilization. There's very little known about the Olmecs. The civilization rose and fell with very little recorded. They're most famous for the massive statue heads. So little is known about them that there are many conspiracies surrounding aliens and this civilization. The next major civilization to rise in Mexico is the Mayans, who I believe everyone's heard of. And when the Mayans were first creating this civilization, Archimedes had discovered that to calculate the circumference of a circle, you had to double the radius of the circle times by a number that was somewhere between 3.1408 and 3.1428. So as long as humans have acted in a way that's similar to how we do now, the basis of our current existence, we've been drawn to circles and use them to better comprehend the world around us. Pi is also a very interesting number as it's not really a real number. It's an infinite number that's somewhere between 2 actual numbers, which realistically doesn't make any sense. However, we're able to understand that we don't really know what pi is, but we can take a rough approximation and we can use that to our advantage. And this is an interesting point that I'll bring up again, so keep it in the back of your mind. Thankfully, we're not in primitive times anymore. We've conquered the world. We live in a world that is entirely of our making. So in our divine future, what have we crafted? How have circles continued to be used? From the last video, I talked about the dopaminergic system and how this is a positive feedback loop, and again meets the criteria for the cyclical ideology. If you've done some science, you quickly realize how often these loops present themselves. Positive feedback loop, negative feedback loop. We've used circles to help us understand the complex mechanisms that are occurring in our own bodies. How else have we used them? A wave is the transfer of energy from one point to another, without the net transfer of matter. When you picture a wave, you probably think of the waves in the ocean. Waves going up and down, oscillating energy through a medium. The oscillation of waves in the ocean follow a trend or path that we call sine or cosine waves. Many of the waves in our lives follow what can be mathematically mapped and called sine or cosine waves. From sound to light, a pendulum, the variations in average day length and temperature, cell phones, GPS and radio waves. Sine and cosine waves are graphed with the y-axis representing the height. The larger the wave, the larger the crest and trough on the y-axis. And the x-axis of the mathematical graphs show sine and cosine waves with the unit in radians. A sine wave is a wave that completes one period. When you take the middle of the wave, and that goes all the way up to the highest point, goes down all the way to the lowest point, and finally goes back up to the original middle point. This period occurs in 2 radians. A cosine wave completes one period when the top of the wave travels all the way down to the bottom and then all the way back up to the top. And just like a sine wave, this occurs in 2 radians. 2 radians is equal to 360 degrees, or 2 pi. And one period of both the sine and cosine wave occurs over 2 radians. If you imagine out to the ocean, waves going up and down, up and down. And the next time you see a wave at its highest point, watch that point. And as the wave moves away, the water behind it goes down, until the next wave comes and pushes that water back up. Once it's reached the highest point again, this can be mapped as 2 pi. This is because if you imagine the waves out in the ocean once again, this time frozen in time, and there's a log at the top of one of the waves. Imagine as the log rolls down the wave, the bark of the log is pulled off. If this log is as tall as the waves are high, then the log will run out of bark once it reaches the top of the next wave, or after one wavelength, or 2 pi, because the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi times the radius of a circle. This is quite a confusing idea which, to be honest, I don't even have my head fully around. But the point that I'm trying to make is that humans' understanding of circles, and therefore pi, enabled us to also understand waves. In order for us to map the waves of the ocean, the waves that enable us to hear and see, we needed to have sufficient understanding of circles to the point where we could apply mathematics to them, and then use these ideas and apply these mathematical concepts to more complex systems like waves. Our understanding of waves enabled us to identify that electrons are not just particles, but also display wave-like features. Neutrons and protons are a result of interacting fields of quarks and gluons that are waves within these quantum fields. You can see how our ability to express ourselves has changed over thousands of years, from the beginning of tales of gods and heroes to explain history and how the earth was formed, to the summarizing of these tales and how we can use a circle to clump all these stories together, to draw connections, and that these stories and all other stories that tickled our brain in just the right way contained innate cyclical patterns. We observe circles in the world around us and use them to enable us to conquer the world through creating the wheel, Even the idea of recycling is a recycled idea that we've borrowed from the earth. We've trained our brain to see the cyclical nature of life, as it has helped us become who we are. We use it to literally explain how many aspects of our brain work, like the dopaminergic system. Circles enabled us to comprehend ideas that we otherwise might not have been able to. We've used circles to understand waves, and all we are waves and particles. Is this because that is truly what we are, or have we decided that is what we and everything else is because we've designed our brains in this way over thousands of years? We've created this world that is one big art piece of self-expression to enable us to understand ourselves and the world around us. But we are just a part of the earth beginning to believe that we can believe. And the earth is a sample of the universe. And all that is, and all that has ever been, and all that will ever be has always been since as long as we are able to define the beginning of the existence with the Big Bang. The quarks and gluons and electrons that make you have been around for as long as time itself. So have we always known what we are? Just waves and particles interacting. But the way we express ourselves has been insufficient to outline this until now. When a baby first opens its eyes, you don't expect it to be able to understand what pi is, or even something as simple as what hello means. But through time and training, that baby will one day be able to understand the basics of quantum mechanics, just like you and everyone else. Our brains were designed to have this capacity for this level of intellect. It's not easy, but we're able to understand what we believe we are. Is this the secret we've been trying to tell ourselves for thousands of years through the stories of old? Did we have this preconceived path that we must follow in order to understand what we really are? What if the wheel and other circles were not useful on Earth? Would we have uncovered the truth about waves and about ourselves? Or would we have comprehended this complex information using another shape? I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about pi again. I said that pi doesn't make any sense, but we're able to make sense of it and use it to our advantage. I'm not sure if there was something else that came before pi, but pi showed us that there's things in this world and in the universe that we're not able to fully comprehend. We are organic creatures bound by the limits of time in a slowly decaying form. We use finite numbers because we're finite entities. We need definitives, beginnings and endings. But pi doesn't have this, and we're okay with that. What's interesting is that I've said that we've used circles to help us understand the world around us and designed our brains to be good at comprehending circles. This ability to understand that there are things that we cannot truly comprehend, which we had to do when using pi, is something that also cannot be understated, especially in the context of quantum mechanics. We can't visualize what the universe is. Time is also not as real as we see it to be. The universe is an infinite space beyond our comprehension, and time is dependent on gravity, motion, and change. Two of the most key things in our lives: that everything has a beginning and an ending, and that no matter what happens, time will continue on, aren't even true once you leave our world. We are wave-like functions that are a result of excitations in the quark and gluon fields. Most of the waves around us are sine and cosine waves, as discussed earlier. However, the waves that we are not these kind of waves. We're able to mathematically map the waves that we are with supercomputers and all the rest of it. But ultimately, it's beyond mine and your comprehension. And in order to have a good grasp on these kind of waves, you need to be blessed with absurd genetics and dedicate your life to understanding it. So again, we're made of waves and particles. We understand waves because we understand circles. We understand there are things we cannot understand. And we understand this because of the presence of pi. This begs the question that, what if we were not bound by our organic bodies and not subject to the construct of gravitational uniform time? Would the definitives that we use not make sense to us anymore? When we die, do we return to this plane of infinite existence? Is this God in the afterlife? Are we just a random sequence of events in the universe that's resulted in the universe being able to observe itself for the first time? Does the universe want a conscious entity to explore the entirety of itself? As we sail the cosmic race around the sun, spinning in control of our days and nights, the moon controls the tides and the emotions inside. The world seems still, but my mind continues to spin around and around. Without my friends, I begin to search, but I can't help but wonder if it's me who's hoping to be found. So I look to the stars, ready to return to infinite space, while longing to rejoice in a human embrace.